What up, though, One Pride? This is the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, the podcast where One Pride goes worldwide. My name is Anthony Fitzpatrick. I'm joined this evening by Ryan McCluskey, which can only mean one thing. It is time for your weekly dose of college knowledge. Yes, it is the college football podcast. Wintertime for springtime. Hmm. Um, we are at the start of Combine Week now. Sort of the first couple of major days have been had. We've not done any drills yet, but we started to hear a bit about interviews. We started to hear about how the Lions are looking at. All these little tidbits are starting to come out. This is where it gets really interesting and where you can start maybe narrowing your boards down as to who some of these teams are looking at.
Yeah, it's it's one of those where the wild takes come. It's people trying to read into what people are saying, who people are in visiting, who are people not having visits with. It's all hearsay. It's all bit of waffle, but it's all good fun. Like I say, it's very cryptic. Players are tweeting cryptic stuff. Like I say, they're very careful on how they answered, and yeah, this is where you find out about the character concerns. This is the week where you either save yourself on boards or you get taken off, depending on how you answer questions.
I know it's also it's weird, isn't it? Like how for some of these guys, all these things come back from high school. You're like, where were these concerns the last 6 or 7 years? And now, just as you're coming into draft season, some of this stuff starts to come out. You don't know who to believe. You don't know what's right, what's wrong, who you're going to take, who you're not going to take. It's a time of intrigue and skullduggery as well, because some GMs will put things out there to try and get their player to drop to them, etc. This is all one big chess game, and we are merely pawns on it. So, what have we got in store today? We're going to go through some college football news, some articles again, like we did last week. There have been some developments regarding Senior Bowl spring games. We had an article come out as well about talent returning into college football next year, which I found very interesting. We're going to chat about as well, and then really, we're just going to open the floor to you guys for combine and draft questions. I've not had as much chance to set up a full show this week. I've got a few things going off at the minute, which are just sapping my time. So it's just going to be more of an open forum Q&A today when we're done with the college stuff, and we'll chat about some other bits as well. So that's all good stuff. And yeah, hope you're all good. No, Carlton's in with us. I think Brent's in the building as well. He is. Hope you are doing well. So if you've got anything you want to ask this evening, go nuts for it. All right, let's get the housekeeping bits out of the way first. The Rural Lines UK Discord, if you want in on that, just let us know. We'll send you the link for it. Main podcast was a couple of days ago. We talking about wide receiver prospects in the NFL draft upcoming. It's all good fun, so go check that one out. Don't forget about Lions Nation Unite, the forum brought together by Lions legend Herman Moore, bringing together a whole host of content creators into one arena to talk everything Lions. And it's getting particularly feisty about one Shamar Stewart at the moment as well. I'm readying my riposte for that. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more you're going to hear about that going forward. Don't forget to like and subscribe to everything Twitch, YouTube, all that good sort of stuff. We really appreciate the support from you there, and we're monetized. We've got a tip jar, we got all that sort of stuff. If you want to help us that way, great. But first and foremost, we just love talking ball with you all, and we got the feedback form as well. So any feedback related things, just let us know, and we will take it all on board. And quick last plug, started now to do our draft prospect reviews, our tape reviews. Now it's a bit iffy doing them directly on YouTube like this because one, I don't want to upset caddies who I use because they're so good and they're a bit funny about putting it on YouTube. But two, sometimes YouTube loves to strike them down because of the using footage that was on there and stuff like that. So what I've done is we're doing these prospect reviews in Google Docs for you to view. So if you want to look at any of them, either let me know or just message us on Twitter and I'll send you the link for them and you can watch them. I did my first one the other day on Ricky White, the UNLV wide receiver. So if anyone wants to listen to that and watch it, watch the tape with it, just let me know. We'll send you the link out for it. But I'm trying to find a better way to do it so I can just put them out there and you've got access to them. But yeah, there's going to be a lot more of those coming in the near future. Right, let's kind of just get on with this evening. So we're going to talk about a few collegiate issues first. The first actually is to do with the path to the draft process. It's already come and gone this year, but Ryan, there was quite a significant hire in the world of college football today, and it happened down in Norman, Oklahoma, as the Sooners they got a new general manager for their football team and happens to be the senior director for the Senior Bowl, Jim Nagy. Obviously, he's worked in college for years, he's scouted for years, he spent the last 4 years leading over the Senior Bowl, sort of revolutionizing the way it is, turned it into this big, massive, huge event under him. And now he's back into football again. He's general manager down at Oklahoma. First, maybe just have a little mention about that, and then we're going to talk about what maybe this holds for the Senior Bowl going forward, because they're going to need a new leader. And we've said maybe they're at a point now where they need to tweak the format a little bit, do it a little bit differently. What might we do? But seems like a good hire for Oklahoma, first and foremost. If there's anybody who knows college talent, it's Jim Nagy. Bless you.
Yeah, on paper, I think it's a fantastic hire because the Senior Bowl in recent years, Jim Nagy has shown a knack for highlighting talent, but also managing to pair them with the right assistant coaches and the right interns and the right NFL level coaches to integrate them into what is a seamless week of what is it's drills, but it's also classroom sessions, it's homework, it's film reviews, it's everything. It's an amalgamation of the entire prospect of reviewing. And yeah, he has got links all over the world. Like I say, he'll have scouts in all countries, like I say, about guys, like I say, he is constantly a revolving door of building relationships with people. And I think he's a great hire for them. The Senior Bowl, I don't expect anything to change. Like I say, Jim isn't the Senior Bowl. He's just the eyes, the ears, the mouth. Especially on Twitter, like where he will literally tweet every single player that's shared. Like I say, social media has a big presence. He's pushed the Senior Bowl as hard as he can. I expect nothing to. It won't lose anything. Like I say, they'll find a hire, but they just need to find someone with the passion. Like I say, I think everyone else behind the scenes is probably the real reason of its solid strengths. But yeah, I like it. It makes a lot of sense. You'd still like to think that he'd still have some interest in it because it won't clash with the season, essentially, really. But it feels like to do the best job as general manager, it probably is time to part ways completely and not spread himself too thin.
I mean, a GM job, it goes on all year, right? Like he's probably going to be looking at next year's recruiting class and then the recruiting class the year after that and spring trade. There's all sorts. So the life of a GM at college, they just it's like it's like an NFL one. There's always something to
But
focus
the
on.
GM might say now he's going to be taking on things maybe he's not got interest in.
Mm,
NIL, the finances. How much is
yeah.
it about finances? Like say recruitments, stadiums, repairs. Like him and the athletic director. Yeah, he's now got to balance the books, and he's also got to like say the rules. So it's a huge undertaking being a general manager.
And it's a hard assignment because, Brent Venables is in year 4 now there. They've underachieved, I
So
think is
he's
fair
also
to
taking on a
say.
staff that is not his.
No, it's not, it's that they're a struggling team. You just had to move over to the SEC.
Puts
They've
pressure on Brent Venables, I suppose, really, because
yeah.
what if he turns around in a year and says, actually, I want to go in a different direction,
Yeah,
play
exactly.
his
And you
house.
exactly. You figure he's on a very short line. I mean, this is coming up to year 4 or 5 now, so if he has a bad year, he might be out anyhow. But I like the hire. It's great for for Jim Nagy, and hopefully he does well there. In terms of the Senior Bowl, if for the future of it, if there was anything you could change about it and the way they did things, and for the new guy coming in who's going to do it and he could, would there be? Because I think about it, and I'd be maybe at the point where I'd want to get more people who'd want to get involved in the game. It feels because like the Shrine Bowl game always feels more important because a lot of their players play. A lot of the Senior Bowl guys, like the Combine, sit and don't do the game. I think you've maybe got to try and not lessen the prospects you're getting in, but bring like the level below prospects, some of those guys up who want to come and play and, reintroduce some vigor into that. I'd like to see them do that because, and for me, again, the Shrine Bowl's the better game right now, and it has been for a while. But is there anything you do or you'd advise the new guy to do for it?
Uh, I think you need to make it easier for the general public to view it. We really do rely on 30-second clips on X.
Oh, you mean the
Yeah,
training sessions
the
and
train
that?
session.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I know obviously, obviously they need to make money to
Mm.
pay the coaches, but do you know what? Offer a package. Do you know, like on
Mm.
YouTube or somewhere where I could pay a small fee and I can watch anything I want.
Yeah.
Like I say, give me more options. Like I say, maybe try to find a way to monetize it more. Like I say, give the people what they want, which is access without having credentials.
Um, yeah, I'd agree with you. I would think of that as well. But I'm with you. I don't think the overall experience is going to suffer. I think he's built a legacy there now, and people want to go for it. They want to be on that watch list. They want to get that invite. It's glitzy, it's glamoury, and I think it's there to stay. So that was asked by Ash. So hopefully that's answered that one there
Hit the
for
NFL
him.
Network. Find a way to get a partnership with them, like the Combine.
Yeah, have more than one channel. Like it's just one channel showing shows. Have a little subsection where you can do path to the draft stuff. I love the path, like they do it with pro days. I'd love to see more access to pro days. Like that would be awesome. You only get to see some of the top pro days, and you don't get to see a lot of the others. You're relying on again Twitter to X.
Also, as
Sorry.
well, I saw in episode one of the new IPP players, they were there at the Senior Bowl.
Mm.
It shows them because obviously they're waiting to announce them. But someone knew who they were. I think you need to find a way to amalgamate them. I mean, obviously
Yeah,
they're not 90% already at a level of play, but
yeah.
put them in the drills, like you say, kind of a way to give them a taste.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That'd be great. And obviously, with the new European League of Football deal coming in as well, hopefully people are going to know some of these guys are coming over as well, which would be great. So, yeah, there are things to be done, but I think the Senior Bowl is going to be in good hands going forward, and but we'll see what happens with that. Right, let's move it on. And one thing that might be under threat going forward, another of college football's hallowed traditions, in the age of NIL, a lot of stuff is getting messed with. Couple of about a month ago now, Matt Rule came out and said he was going to cancel Nebraska's spring game because in this new age of NIL and with having a spring transfer portal, which is after the spring game, he didn't like the idea of having a showcase for his players where they can go and play in a semi-competitive environment, the most they will in the off season, and it be an opportunity for other teams to see those games, find some players, and then offer them deals when the spring portal opens up, and thereby scupper your team's chances going forward. He said it was an unfair process for that, and said he wasn't going to do it. A lot of people thought it was just one guy chucking his dummy out the pram per se, but this over the last few weeks, steadily more and more and more teams who've been accumulating who are also cancelling their spring games, and this is not done yet. But at this moment in time, teams that are not going to be hosting spring games this year, Nebraska, obviously for reasons announced. Ohio State will not be either. Their reasoning, obviously, as well, is they've played into February pretty much, so they don't want to have a spring game showcase there. Texas are not having a spring game. Steve Sarkisian's switching their off-season to a more NFL style where you do OTAs and stuff like that instead of having your traditional spring game. Missouri are not having a spring game, although they are renovating their stadium, so maybe some parts to that there. NC State, my Wolfpack, they are not having a spring game. Now, Dave Doran, he's got two new coordinators this year, offensive and defensive, and he doesn't want anyone to see what they're practicing. He's basically putting everything behind a closed door this year because he doesn't want people to see how the new team's operating under the coordinators. Florida State are not having a spring game. However, that is also down to stadium renovation. But Mike Norvell is on record as saying that college football is moving away from the exhibition model, so this might be a more regular occurrence for them. And USC are also not having a spring game as it stands, and they're citing risk of injury as to why they're not going to do those. But right, what maybe started as one guy throwing his hat out the pram about spring games and the permutations of it, it's now starting to gather a bit of momentum around other teams. And like I say, from the point of view of some teams, especially smaller teams, having your spring game is an opportunity for other bigger teams who maybe have found deficiencies on their roster they didn't know about before, who then see the spring transfer portal as one last option to go out and snag some of the better players from other teams. It was Alabama last year who snagged Graham Nicholson in the spring transfer window, star kicker. And then all of a sudden, Mac teams having to scramble around trying to find a new guy. And then for bigger teams, it's a problem for them as well. Because if you've got, some talented redshirt freshmen on your team who are not quite ready to get in the team yet, but you do want to start integrating them in, if another team just below them comes, well, we'll give you $1 million. You can start for us. It's a showcase because you're going to see a lot of those guys in the spring game as well, the guys who've not played so much. So what do you make of all this and what's going on? Are we really sort of in the winter time period for the springtime game? Are we going to get to a point in a few years where we're going to see them gone? Do you agree with it? Could we solve this by eliminating the spring transfer portal? What do you reckon about the growing number of teams who are not choosing to have a spring game?
It's weird. It won't change the portal. It won't stop you losing players. It'll have no effect on the portal. And for me, what I find bizarre is how can you not have a spring game behind closed doors? There shouldn't be anyone in the stadium. How is anybody watching them?
They're taped. They get taped for practice and stuff like that, and I think they're made available for one of
Don't.
them.
I mean, for me, it's not hard. Don't tape them. How if you're a team that has got a quarterback that's coming in that's never played for your team, or two new coordinators, how can you not have a spring game? How is your first game of the season going to be the first real live snaps your quarterback takes? I find that bizarre. Obviously, a lot of these teams we've mentioned have got relatively settled starters, but it doesn't mean the skill positions aren't completely wide open and they're just going for like practice reps. So for me, I think it's foolish. It won't stop players leaving. And I think in this day and age, really, or go to a local high school, like say if you're worried about anyone watching, or just don't tape it. I mean, it's not hard to close a stadium, like I say, and have it in a completely empty stadium. No one needs to know when it is. Like I say, it should be in the day and age of like AI and security. No one should be able to watch it.
But the trouble is, spring games they're like fan events. It's for the fans, really, and the scrimmages for the fans because obviously you don't get to see your team for so long. So,
I think
I mean, it will piss fans
they're
off.
behind closed doors.
It would piss fans off if you did that. I think that is the blowback on that. It's like they would get annoyed if because again, you don't watch the team for so long. It's your only chance to see them in a big long off season. So I don't know. I still feel like the spring portal needs to be eliminated.
It needs to be
I'm
eliminated.
with
I feel like it's not going to be.
no. I think what the idea we said was if anyone after spring training has been demoted on their roster and is not going to play next year, give them special exemption to leave. If the head coach can say, look, you've fallen down the roster, you're not going to play, you want to try elsewhere, give it special exemption where the head coach can tell them if they can. And that's it. And do it that way, not an open portal. But I do agree, if I'm a team, especially if I'm like a group of five team, I'm holding scrimmages and I'm doing well, and then just someone comes in and takes a guy at the last moment, and then I'm going into summer and I've lost a starter or two. I'm like, okay, that's not fair. I've got to redo this now. I might not have the recruits, I might not have the depth, and I don't have the opportunity to get new guys. I can maybe understand why they're not, but I don't know. It just seems a shame because spring games are so fun, and you get to see some of these new, the big five-star recruits in action for the first time, the next generation of players coming through, and it seems a shame that it's been made this way. I think get rid of the spring portal, save the spring game, and you're fine. yeah, you're done then. You're not going to have to worry about losing your players if you have a good your system. You're not going to have to worry about schemes, but anything like that. But yeah, it's a shame, but it is a growing trend, and we'll wait to see how big it grows and whether there is a true threat to it. But maybe, just maybe, for the spring game, it is entering its winter time period. Let us. Now, Brent goes, I don't see Michigan ever cancelling the spring game. Too much of a traditional thing here. Again, that's the problem. It's a tradition thing for a lot of fan bases, but it's now
To be fair though,
balancing
you know
against
what? You could
NIL.
stream it.
You
Close the
could,
stadium. You could. They could all put it. They could stream it on.
but then if you stream it, like opposition teams get it. It's just I don't think there's a and you can't cut the fans out of it because you'll just get too much. You'll just get too much backlash, and of course you make money from it as well. And I don't know. It's a very tough. I think that spring portal needs to vanish, and all these problems would vanish with it. They're just overcomplicating things, and NIL is just becoming too much of a factor here. So it's a shame, but we'll see what happens with that. Right, let us move on. And one of the last bits I want to talk about is returning production. So when we do our conference previews over the summer and let you know about teams and how they're doing. We'll always generally mention a lot about the returning production of the team, like how many players are coming back, how much of their production, their rushing yards, their receiving yards, their passing yards, the touchdowns, sacks, all that are coming back into the next season. And there's not a direct correlation between teams returning very little production and being bad and teams returning a lot of production and being good, but there are a lot of cases where, Ryan, bringing production back from a previous year is critical, especially if you're a good team. Now, if you're 130th in the nation ranked offense and you bring back 100% of your production, that's not necessarily a good thing. But specifically for teams who are really good or bad, returning production matters. Look, no more, and I'm sorry, Ash, I have to do this, but at Florida State this year, they returned precious little of their team from 2023 when they were really good because they had a really old team in terms of a lot of year 4, year 4, 5 guys. Ohio State won this year with a defense that had one guy who was below year 4 as a starter on it. So you've got a really old team. You're going to lose a lot of that next year, and of course there's going to be a regression as such. So there are little trends you can follow, and the nice guys over at ESPN have finally tallied it all together. And there is the spring portal coming, but for the most part, it doesn't really affect starters, especially of Power Four teams. Not many of them are going into the portal and getting shifted. And, for the most part, a lot of the group of 5 stays. If you've got a starting position nailed in, then really you're quite safe. But the list has been done this year of who's returning the most production in the country, who's bringing back the least production in the country. So can I we'll do the top 15 and the bottom 15 and maybe make a note of some in the middle. But I want to see about some of these teams coming back, bringing a lot of guys to maybe figure out who some of the really good teams are going to be next year, or some of the bounce back teams are going to be
the most back, I will say.
Next year. Yeah, it was so we'll start with the top of this. So in terms of production coming back, so we'll go from, in fact, we'll do top 20 and bottom 20, and we'll just do it that way. So in terms of your top 20, at 20, so most production coming back. Actually, Delaware. So the Fighting Blue Hens are coming up to Conference USA this year, and they're bringing back a total of 65% of their production from last year, 54% on offense, 76% on defense. That's 4th out of everybody. At 19, we've got Troy. They're bringing back 66% of their production from last year, 64 on offense, 68 on defense. At 18, we've got Florida. They're also at 66% coming back, 66% on offense, 65% on defense. Missouri State, they are also coming up to the CUSA this year. They're bringing back 66% of their production from last year, 76 on offense, 56 on defense. Arizona at number 16, they're also bringing back 66%. So you got 70% on offense, 62% on defense. Liberty are at 66 as well, 61 on offense, 72 on defense. Start with those five first. Now, you're looking at teams potentially who are going to be really good this year. No one ended the season better last year than Florida, really. More, well, maybe South Carolina in there, but the team reborn under DJ Lagway, and you got Bow, the young running back there. This is a good team who are bringing back a lot next year, and they are supplementing it with a very good draft, a recruiting class this year. They've had a good portal session as well. They're not losing much. Like this is the potential to be a very good Gators team this year with the amount they're bringing back because it is relatively young. Maybe we're going to see it bear fruit this year.
Yeah, it has to. I think this has to be the year where, with no disrespect to some of the players, the dead wood has been shifted. Graham Mertz, that he's gone. He was dead wood. Like I say, they were just biding their time. They got their Gatorade Freshman Player of the Year. He showed sparks. Like I say, a lot of the guys that they're not sending a great class to the draft. Like I say, so a lot of guys have just purely run out of eligibility or hit the portal. They were not going to be go pro, make a splash. And yeah, we saw that last year. Not a lot of guys at the next level that will make a serious impact. And yeah, sometimes you do have to bide your time. I mean, Billy, it feels like this is the year, this is the make or break year for him. Like I say, he's got a star freshman quarterback, star freshman running back, and then he's got a good crop of portal players coming in. And yeah, he's got to find a way to make that work. They need, like I said, there'll be sophomores, like I said, there are two guys. And yeah, I'm excited for the Gators. I've said that before and it burned me, but I feel good about it. I suppose it makes sense that the two FCS teams are returning a lot of players because is that these guys getting a chance to play the FBS that they've never probably had, and they may do in their own team. None of them were going to hit the portal, and if they were draft eligible last year, we got more eligibility. This is your best chance to improve your stock.
But we've seen it work. Like Jacksonville State bought a lot of their team with them. Kennesaw, they did the red shirt thing, so they didn't. But they've had success early.
Yeah.
Like,
and realistically, you will only have success at the FBS level if you can bring the successful players from the FCS. If you can't, if they all just depart and you try bringing a load of new teams while trying to bridge a gap after just spending $5 million, that's a recipe for disaster. Mm-hmm. So they're going to work out quickly next year who's cut out for it, if not, and then they'll hit the portal hard. Exactly. They'll try and plug the gaps in a year's time, but yeah, they've got foundations to build on. We'll find out if they're concrete or if they're sand very quickly.
Yeah, CUSA is going to be competitive them too, and also Liberty are in there now. They've been whitewashed in the draft the last couple of years. They've lost so many guys.
The first time they've actually
and it feels like they're going to be very dangerous again next year.
Lost the quarterback, but they're bringing back probably trench players, which are probably just as important.
Yeah, they're bringing back. I mean, your running backs are gone, but I think it's defense especially. You're bringing a lot back. It's 72% on defense, 61 on offense, but their defense is nasty. Like it is nasty on the best of days. So would expect to see a bounce back from Liberty this year. Just moving up the chain a little bit. At 14, you got USF, Alex Golesh and his squad bringing back 67% of their team, 66 on offense, 68 on defense. Stanford at number 13 now. This is where kind of maybe bringing back a lot of production is counterintuitive given how bad they were last year. They're bringing back 67 as well, 59% on offense, 76 on defense. You got Cincinnati at 12, they're 68%. They're bringing back 65 on offense, 71 on defense. Baylor at 11, 72% on offense, 65 on defense. And at 10, you've got Oklahoma, 69%. You got nearly 80% of your offense coming back, which it wasn't much last year, and then 60% on defense. I mean, this is going to show the strength of the Big 12. Baylor, especially, with their quarterback.
Prendergrass, the young running back, and Sawyer Robertson, a young quarterback. Yeah, they're bringing back two key positions.
They're the team that scream out immediately like, oh, hang on, they're going to be pretty good this year.
Next year.
Yeah, I think their defense was a little bit of an issue for them, but that's only 65%. 72% of that offense is back, which is going to be good. I mean, for Oklahoma and Stanford, maybe if they're young, it's good, but it wasn't pretty last year, so maybe bringing back so much of these teams is not the best thing. But USF, the Bulls, it does feel a bit like we're big fans of Alex Golesh. We said lots of nice things about him on here, but this year feels like the year where he's got to start breaking the glass ceiling now. Like he's turned them from plucky underdog and they've always been a bad team who've just barked a little bit. Now they got to bite this year and they've got to go for the American because Army won it last year at the first time of asking. It feels like they've now got to put their money where their mouth is with him, but all these guys coming back, hopefully that'll give them a good foundation for this year.
Yeah, the first job as an incoming head coach at a struggling program is, like, say, what Kenny Dillingham did. You've got to stop players leaving. You can't be turning over 30, 40 players a year on a roster of 70 players. It just don't work. And this is the first real year that, say, they turned a corner last year and he's bringing a good number of them back. And that's a great place to be in because that means that they've bought in. They trust you, they trust their coordinators, and they believe they're heading in the right direction. And if you can supplement that with some guys that have got lots and lots of starts at the FBS level, but have not made a huge impact, and you can kind of just sprinkle them in, yeah, it might be the year. But as you say, mediocrity does not last. It's not. There's no longevity in that. You can't just keep treading water. You've turned the corner. You've made them look good, but now you got to go and win some. Like, so you've got to be competitive because you only get so long in the game before they're like, he's turned the program around. Someone else can take us further.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we're going into the top nine now. So at number nine, we've got Boise State. 69% production returning this year, 75% on offense, 64% on defense, and pretty much everything that's gone on offense is Ashton Jaunty. They're bringing everyone else back. Number eight, Vanderbilt, bringing back 70% of that team that did so well this year to beat the likes of Alabama and really establish themselves in the SEC. We talk about bad teams losing recruits. Well, hello, 70% of your production coming back, 68 on offense, 73 on defense. Rutgers at number seven, 71% of their teams coming back, 80% of their offensive production's coming back, and that's with losing Kyle Monangai this year, just 62% on the defense. Number six is TAMU, Texas A&M. You've got 71% of their team coming back, 70% on the offense, 73% on the defense. I mean, that's a nice little group there, right? Boise are always going to challenge for the Mountain West, and you got to replace Gianti. But apart from that, that team is pretty much intact for this year. It's not losing too much. Obviously, you've got Hassanein on the defensive line. You've got to get rid. So you've lost like your two star players, but everyone around it is still there. So you've got a good base. But Vandy. Vandy would never hang on to this many players usually, given how good a season they had. And I know Rutgers underachieved as well, but Rutgers is it's a small fish in the Big Ten, and they have been snapping above their weight in recent years as well. These are programs now starting to hold on to their guys and establishing themselves in their own right.
Yeah, like I say, I was quite surprised. Like, Eli Stowers to me should have gone to the draft after such a great year. I feel like he would have had a lot of buzz, and I'd love to see him at the combine. I respect him not hitting the portal, which also would have been a good option because he would probably have been picked up by a more high profile school. But he said, I've got and finished business. So that's the biggest thing that's happened to him. And it was the biggest thing next year. Like I say, he's the go-to guy. He's the kind of the heart and soul of the offense, and he's back. So yeah, they brought back the depth pieces, but their key Manning's returning, and that will go a long way. Another team that you've shown you can get better, you've shown you can turn a corner, but can you progress? I say, yeah, there's no room for aggression there now because it will. People, like I say, they will start talking again. You've silenced doubters now, but you've got to keep them quiet.
Yeah,
Like I said, Rutgers, yeah, the quality of some guys returning is probably not up there, but they're still doing a good job with the budget where they are, what they've got to work with. They've lost some key guys, like I say, Longerbeam's gone.
Monaghan's gone.
Gone. Like I say, so yeah.
But
the players have lost, like I say, they're going to have to find ways to get guys to fill those gaps because that's a large gap. But yeah, the majority of the roster is there. And Boise, yeah, as long as they all align, which, like I say, a lot of it sounds like it's coming back. If you can find a running back that they don't have to replace Johnny, that's going to be a critical ask. But if you can go back to be a compliment and take the pressure off Madsen, they'll be fine. They're always fine. Like I say,
yeah.
they find ways to be.
Yeah, I'd say, especially for Rutgers and Vanderbilt this year. Big year bringing so many guys back. And for Tamu as well. Tamu need to, Mike Elko, year 2, you bring him back so many guys as well. So you got to try and make progress there because they will start getting unhappy after 2 or 3 years if you're not moving them forward. Such is the life at College Station. At number 5, we've got Kennesaw State, the Owls out the CUSA. CUSA bringing back a lot of players this year. 73% of their production is returning. 69 on offense, 78 on defense. And it was not bad last year. Texas Tech, 75% of that team coming back this year, 68 on offense, 82 on defense, which is not been their strong point, but still.
40 million.
Illinois are bringing back 76% of their team at number 3 as well. 78% of the offense, 75% of the defense. I'm going to save the top 2 just for a minute, but it's Kennesaw State great, but you're looking at potential danger teams next year. Texas Tech got to be in that conversation. I know you're losing Taj Brooks, you're losing your star running back, but for the most part, you are bringing back an offense which is potent as anything. You've even got to make that defense average, and you could challenge for the Big 12. And with so many guys coming back, and with teams been bad, yes, but they're going to have a more experienced defense now at worst, which will hopefully still be a bit better. I mean, they're one to certainly watch out for.
Oh, Texas Tech are probably the most, they're one of the dark horses in the country. They've had the best portal out of anyone because they're really rich. They've got, like I said, they've got an oil baron that's just sold his company for like $4 billion. They're being bankrolled, and they have made some huge signings in the portal. Like I say, and yeah, their defense was dreadful for most part of the season. They were happy to give up 30, 40 points. Their offense, like I say, they've got a quarterback that on his day can be very good. They've gone out and got a shed load of weapons, improved their lines. Like I say, if they're not making the Big 12 championship, it's not a good return on investment, and it won't happen again.
No.
So yeah, they've gone all out. So
Yeah.
like I said, they've also their coaching as well. Like I said, they made some good hires. Like I said, they brought in some young interns. Yeah, they've got to be a team to watch to win the Big 12. They've kept their good talent, and they've added in some serious spice.
It feels like the first example of a young whippersnapper really going all in on the NIL thing. Like we've seen some of the bigger teams spend a lot of money, but this is where someone from the outside is trying to do it now. And I think it's going to be intriguing to see how they do, isn't it? Because like you say,
yeah,
they will
if they
expect,
go like 8-4, they will get laughed at.
and there will be a lot of other teams on the periphery maybe watching this. Because if they suddenly shoot to the top of the Big 12 and start winning, I think a lot of other teams might go, huh, we might empty our purse strings a little bit more here and put a bit more in. Whereas if they fail, a lot of teams will be like, okay, we're gonna shoe the brakes in on here. So Texas Tech, very intriguing team to see next year. Are they keeping Baron Morton at quarterback? I don't know.
I believe so. Yeah.
So like, I like him. He's good.
Yeah, he's good.
He's good. We'll see how Taj Brooks leaving, but I'm sure they've got someone else in the pipeline there. And then we come to our final 2, the 2 teams in the nation bringing back the most of their productivity next year. If you watch this show often, you should know one of them because it's been said enough times they're bringing enough guys back. But number 2, the Arizona State Sun Devils, 79% of their team is returning, 78 on offense, 79 on defense. That's ranked 4th and 2nd in the nation, respectively. And then at number 1, Dabo and Clemson, 81% of their production returns this year, 86% on offense, 75% on defense. You know, if we're talking for teams who are going to break out this year against, some of the hierarchies of other guys been there. These are 2 conference champions, right? 2 conference champions who are young, experienced, have won the big one, and they're just going to keep getting better and you would expect to see at least one of these two making a very deep run into the playoffs, if not a national title game.
You like to think so, yeah. A lot of ASU players made verbal commitments to return within hours of the loss to Texas because it stung so badly. Like I say, such a bad start and then such a crazy end and a way to lose. It left a sour taste in the mouth, and a lot of them like, we've got to put it right. Like I say, John Tyson missed all the postseason. Like I say, with serious shoulder injury, had surgery. He's coming back as one of the most returning players in the nation. They've got a Heisman caliber QB that's basically like I say, only 2.5 years into his career. Like I say, and he's got years left of football. Could be one of the best. And then defense. You got guys like Xavier Alford. You got guys like I say that couldn't wait to come back because they know this time next year they'll have serious draft talk. A lot of these guys are going to have some interesting conversations about, like I say, what their draft grades are going to be. And it's the Kenny Dillingham effect. He's the new,
What
he's
good
one of
coach
the
does to
most
you.
loved neutral coaches in the country. Everyone loves him. He's candid. Like you say, he's emotional, sometimes over emotional, but he makes no apologies for that. And they just want to play for him. And yeah, with the new expanded playoffs, they've got a great chance of making the playoffs again. Like I said,
Jordan Tyson just got ranked. Jordan Tyson just got ranked third in the nation by PFF at receiver. Like, and he's staying. That just shows you the effect he's had on the program.
like I said, the thing is though, they've set such a huge bar now. Like
Can
I say,
they?
living
But
up.
you look at the roster. What have they lost? They've lost Scat, but you've bought in
Lost Simmons, lost Scat, but you brought in Konya Udo from
from
Army.
Army, who's
You
going to
brought
go
in the
berserk next year.
DB from Washington State
You bought
to
in,
replace Shamari Simmons.
yeah. You've got in good transfer portal
Yeah,
classes.
they
Their
brought in
recruiting
two
classes are getting
corners
better.
from Purdue. Like,
Yeah.
so they're bringing in, they're plugging holes straight away. So they were aggressive in the portal as well, ASU. They went out there and got some big names as well. So they
And got
did
them
not
early.
some laurels.
And got them early. So they're
And
going to
then
be right in there
Dabo,
next year.
What Dabo does. Dabo doesn't go out and bring a load of faces he doesn't know. He doesn't like that. They got a great pickup from Will Held, the edge rusher from Purdue, who he could turn some heads this year. Like 6'6", like a lamppost. If he has a good year, but yeah, he keeps the guys together because, like I say, he's a coach that loves consistency. He doesn't like roster turnover, and they will probably feel like they were better than their record last year. Like I say,
Yeah, even though they won the
live up to
ACC.
expectations. They
Yeah.
finished the year hot. Cade Klubnik, like I say, got hot, and he will be firmly in that top 5, top 10 range next year's draft. He will be one of the. He's going to go high in the draft.
And I
Like I
think
say, he looks like he's a potential top 3 draft pick. So yeah, Clemson, I think they bounce back in a big way this year.
and I think the critical thing is for the first time in a while, they've got a bona fide wide receiver one there now. Like it feels like they've not had this.
Like Dale Star last year.
It feels like they've not had that star at receiver, doesn't it? Like you've had some receiver, but like who's the last big receiver to come out of Clemson? Like big. You know, you'd probably be going back to Ross or whatever when he was crippled when he came out of there. Like his injuries just crippled him. They've now got a bona fide one, and they've now got a bona fide 2 and 3 as well. Like they've got one of the best trios in the country. You get a running back in there. The offensive line's good. Like you say, Will Held's going to come in and beef up that defensive line again. But that defense. Clemson's is always good. Bring you back 75% of it, but the offense was decent. Bring you back nearly 90% of your production there. Like that feels like it's going to be like the Florida State offense of 2023, where just everybody came back and they're just going to absolutely moss everybody. So I would expect to see those two certainly in a deep postseason run. But yeah, Clemson and Arizona State are your teams who are bringing back the most this year, but going from the most to the least. And, you know, sometimes it's not the worst thing in the world
It's never a bad.
having, especially if you're a bad team. If you're a bad team overgoing
I've had
severe
a lot of
turnover.
them are relatively bad teams. Fair that
Exactly.
there was one team that was really good this year, that I instantly jumped out at me.
Just
I think
gonna
that
have a
third
look
or
through
fourth
there. Oh yeah, right. Well, let's go down. Let's see who's bringing back the least in the nation. We'll do the bottom 20 there. So we're 136 teams in college football now. I keep forgetting. So number 116, You've got Fresno State only bringing back 40% of their team this year, 36 on offense, 44 on defense. Sam Houston at 117, also 40%, bringing back 60% of their offense, but just 20% of their defense is coming back. At 118, you've got Rice, that's 39% of their team is coming back, 29 on offense, 50 on defense. So defense is still relatively intact. Memphis at 119, 39% of their team is returning, 45 on offense, 33 on defense, and then UAB at 120, 39% as well, 38 on offense, 40 on defense. And the name that stands out amongst those five right away, Memphis, Seth Hennigan,
Hennigan,
gone,
Rock, the wide
Rock,
receiver,
Rock Taylor,
Taylor,
gone, the linebacker,
the
the
linebacker,
short, the small line, the inside
Sean,
linebacker.
is it Duman?
Yeah.
Dunak, yeah.
But you've got like, and this Memphis team's been good in recent years, but Seth Hennigan especially, that's huge for them because he's been there. He's 14,000 yards in 4 years. Like he's been big for them, and for this Memphis team now, it's going to have to undergo its severest rebuild in a while.
Yeah, they need a large scale facelift. They've had a run of quarterbacks since like Brady, White going back years now, where they've had stability at the position for 4 or 5 years. It feels like where they've never had to worry about who is going to be on the center next year. And yeah, next year is going to be a big question mark who's going to be in the center. Like I said, they've been very competitive. They were firm. It's a team that, like I say, is definitely on the outside looking in. Like I said, we had him in the conversation for a long time this year for that group of five playoff spot. And you look at the roster this year and you just think like, how do they get in that conversation? Lad, it's not the lack, it's not the overall players lost, it's the positions.
Yeah, they're critical. Like you lose your
Got to
quarterback
hit
in the
on them
group of
straight
five.
away.
We've seen them for years, haven't we? Like North Texas when they lost their great quarterback. Just these teams then go through a
Wide
bit of
receiver
a
one, you're running back, and then your key like Mike linebacker. Like they're
yeah.
your generals.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got a lot there. So Memphis have taken a big hit here. So 121, you've got Bowling Green just bringing back 38%, 45 on offense, 30 on defense, with the likes of Harold Fanning's gone from there. UMass 37%, 45 on offense, 28 on defense. They always lose their best guys every single year, unfortunately. Western Michigan are only bringing back 37% of their team at 123, so 24 on offense, 49 on defense. Utah State, 36% of their teams coming back, just 22% on offense, 50% on defense. And then at 125, you've got Western Kentucky. So 34% coming back for them, 36 on offense, 33% on defense. So like again, these are a lot of power. These are a lot of group of five teams now. Bowling Green, some losses there. Utah State, obviously, Jalen Royals has gone. Their star wide receiver, their quarterback's gone as well. But it's some more teams here you'd expect. Like, yeah, you're
Yeah.
gonna lose here.
The
Like
Mac,
MAC
the Mac always
teams,
struggles.
the MAC has been like it's not because they're just leaving. They're going higher. The MAC gets cleansed for its elite talent. I think more than any other group of five conference. It feels like anyhow.
Yeah, they struggle to retain anybody half decent.
Mm, it
And yeah,
is.
it's going to be another year where it's going to be a complete toss up who wins it
Yeah.
because it's another season where a lot of them are just flat out rebuilding.
It is, yeah. And then there's another two in the next five. So 126, you got Ball State, just 32% of their team coming back, 21% on offense. That's it. 44% on defense. Purdue at 127, 32% of their team comes
That
back.
might not be a bad thing.
That feels like a good one. But
I mean, they
also
did
who
lose
you've
Dylan
lost,
Tyneman and Will Held.
Dylan Tyneman, Will Held. You've nicked pretty much all their corners as well. And then I would assume they're going to have a quarterback change this year as well.
Yeah, because the
Hudson
guy
Card's
from
not going to stay
Texas
there, is
is
he?
out of eligibility.
Hudson Card's not going to stay there.
And Reese
So,
Brown, their star freshman quarterback, did he leave?
I'm
I
not
feel
sure.
like he must have hit the portal.
So, yeah, they've just got 27% of their offense and
And they also, like I said,
37% of their
don't have a head
defense.
coach, essentially.
Mm. And now, two teams who've been good in recent years at 128 and 129, and we'll say 130 as well, because these are a conference champion. So at 128, you've got Miami of Ohio, 32% coming back, just 15% of their offense is returning. 49% of the defenses, but 15%. It's the lowest in the nation. Then at 129, you've got UNLV just bringing back 32%, just 34% of their offense, just 30% of their defense. And 130, you got the Sun Belt winners, Marshall, 32% of their team. Obviously, in the departure of Charles Huff, everybody left. 31% of their offense, 33% of their defense. These are three teams who've been good, Ryan. Miami of Ohio, especially, we know them have been great. But is Brett Gabbert gone now? Is that why? Or is he? I would assume he's got to have gone by now. He's got to be out.
I feel like he must be going pro.
Um, but then UNLV, obviously, they're losing some of my
That's a coach.
favorite draft players. Jackson Woodard's going to the draft. Jalen Catalon's going to the draft. Your two-star defensive players. Ricky White, your star wide receivers, going to the draft. You've got a couple of linemen going to the draft as well. And, they've been, and Boise are bringing back their entire team, and they could beat Boise last year. And then, of course, Marshall, that was in the departure of Charles Huff. That's a coaching related thing. All their guys left, but
Plus UNLV probably is. Odom and Mannion.
Odom's gone, yeah. So
And you
they've
lose
got
Brennan Mannion.
Baron
Marion.
Marion's gone. It that feels like it's definitely going to be a rebuilding. This is
Yeah.
going to be a test of just
The whole culture is going to change. The team, the offense, the players.
it's going to be a test, right? Like they've been good these last few years. They've been bad for a long time before this. Now it feels like just how far have you come? Can you take these losses and sustain being good? Feels like it's their
Going to
year
be
for
hard
them.
for them to. I mean, do you go in a new way? Do you try and get someone to come in and replicate the new system? But Dan Mullen ain't going to play the go-go.
No, he
He ain't
isn't.
going to find anyone to play the go-go. Like say, and because like say they've been gutted, they've gone with an old, reliable, trusted head. They ain't gone
Yeah,
with Maverick or a young guy. Like say,
and I'm
players will come to play for Dan Mullen because he's a big name.
hmm.
But they're not going to be the same team next year. They will. I think they'll struggle.
I'm worried for Hajj Malik Williams. I think he's a wonderful quarterback. I don't think Dan Mullen's going to use him right. I don't think he likes those kind of dual threaty, like to think outside the box guys. Like you say, he's standard, he's rigid. Likes to do things properly as they were. And I think Hajj Malik Williams is a fantastic talent. I would prefer he have gone to Sac State with Brennan Marion, but he who. And then the bottom six in the nation here. We've got Charlotte at 131, just 30% coming back, just 18% of their offense, which is probably not a bad thing, 41% of their defense. Nevada at 132, just 29% of their team come back, 33 on offense, 26 on defense. Jacksonville State, the
That's the
USA winners,
yeah.
28% coming back, 37% of their offense, just 19% of their defense. It's the worst in the nation. We've got Washington State at 134, 27% coming back,
That's good. Yeah.
29% and 28% of their defense. I'll leave the bottom two for a little reveal in a minute, but yeah, Jacksonville State, that's the cost of winning the CUSA championship. They
You
were a
lose Rich
very,
Rodriguez, the best rush offense in the country. You lose
well,
your running back. You lose some of the O line.
Clay Webb's gone, yeah.
Yeah.
That was an experienced team this year, and that's the price you
That O
pay,
line and
isn't
that
it?
run game, like you say, was the best in the country. And like you said,
Yeah.
you had a head coach that was known for predominantly running the ball. Like you said, Rich Rodriguez, he used him as a stepping stone, didn't it? The
Yeah.
moment he got a taste of success and like he wet his whistle, he was gone.
And he's taken a bunch of them to West Virginia with him as
Yeah.
well. Like that's where the
But
losses
yeah.
come there. So you figure with Liberty
You take it,
returning
you get
so
a team like
much,
on a great high, like you say, but how do you replicate it?
it's
how do you
tough,
find
right?
success?
It's like how do you replicate it at Marshall? Like Charles Huff is beloved there, and then they've just fired him, and it was received very poorly. Like how do you go in and fix that? And it just won a championship. It's like you can't beat that apart from redo it again from such your positions are there. I mean, Washington State.
I feel
They're
for
in
them.
trouble. Obviously, John Matia, biggest
He
loss
has
for
gone.
them.
Their best players have gone. Like I say,
That's gone. You've
their
taken the star
coaches have gone.
safety. You took the star safety.
Yeah. Coach has
It's
gone to Oklahoma, which everyone expected. QB's followed. And yeah, they've just been good.
they're struggling to adapt to life as an independent more than Oregon
Yes,
State, aren't
it
they?
kind of feels like
Like,
it's bigger than last season. It's the dismantling of the Pac-12.
yeah, they feel like they're struggling a bit more, possibly with it. Their Oregon State lost a ton, but they lost it all to Michigan State last year. They're at least returning a lot more this year. They're going to have stability this year, but Washington State are
Lack
not.
of money, because like I say, they don't have the TV rights because they're sharing with the Mountain
No,
West, and no one likes the Mountain West.
no,
Is that
no.
the Mountain West future? That honestly feels like give it a couple of years, they're going to blow the Mountain West up. So that Wazoo and Oregon State are in very tumultuous situations right now. They ain't got a lot of money, losing coaches, losing players, and yeah, without a good TV deal and a conference that works for them, they're not going to turn around. I think it could be pretty ugly for those two teams this year.
I think it could be as well. And then we get our last two teams, so 135 and 136. New Mexico, who've actually done really well under Mildenhall the last couple of years, and teams they had a really good offense last year. They are bringing back just 27% of their team, just 29% of that offense, which was so good, and then just 25% of their defense is coming back as well. I feel for them because they finally turned a corner this year and they have just been gutted outright. But at the bottom, by some distance, with just 23% of their team returning next year, is Northern Illinois in the MAC. Again, 25% of that offense, 22% of that defense. The price of beating Notre Dame, right? A lot of your recruits suddenly get on teams' radars and they're like, actually, they're much better than this. And they've especially been affected by the portal and a few senior guys leaving as well. But it's just bad for the MAC. And as I say, for New Mexico, it's just, that's rough. They were a good team this year who put up some great performances, and you just hate to see them rinsed to death again. And like, it's going to be difficult to replicate that with just 27% of your production coming back.
Yeah. New Mexico back to square one. It feels like it's going to be a never-ending cycle. And yeah, I don't know how they ever bridge the gap to stability. It doesn't feel like, and then no, just yet. It just sums up the MAC. How you can go have a great, no, okay, you can have an okay to good year, have one of the biggest wins in franchise history, and then everyone leaves.
Yeah.
Whether they're out of eligibility or not, like you say. And yeah, that's another team. Like I say, it's a conference that's just set back. It just feels like when you compare like to the Sun Belt, the MAC is just miles off. It's just
Yeah.
nowhere near, like it will never get that magnitude of respect because it just can't retain its talent
That's like a
because
full
it goes
MAC.
to places like the Sun Belt.
That's
And
like a
that's a
full
big
MAC.
club.
That's like a full MAC division in the bottom 20. Like
Yeah.
at least half the teams are in the bottom 20, which is crazy. But unfortunately, it's true. And I think UMass join next year, and they're in it. So technically, you can add UMass to the MAC list of casualties as well.
When do
Like
they get
that's
rid of
never gonna.
divisions? When do they become the last team to get rid of divisions?
I don't know. But I know UMass are joining soon.
Pretty
They
sure
may
like
even be joining
college,
this
college
year.
football said it like a couple of years ago, but at some point they're all gone.
I think the Mac are gonna keep, and I don't think the Mac have any. I don't think the Mac have announced it yet. It's the
I'd
Mac
like
and
to see them all gone.
The Sun Belt are the only ones left. I like the Sun Belt the way it is. I would like it to keep its divisions, but the Mac maybe could benefit from bringing them all together because yeah, they've got to do something. They've got to get some guys up there who can just withstand the
The only
assault
glimmer of hope for these
of the
teams is
portal.
if that 20% in offense is most of your O line, it's not that bad. You
No,
can replace skill position players very easily.
yeah,
If your O line's gone, you're probably screwed
yeah,
because
absolutely.
you don't rebuild an O line out
No,
of freshmen, backups, and portal players. It
yeah,
usually leaves you in a state of your quarterback's going to be murdered or at least in a
absolutely.
lot of trouble.
Absolutely. So they're the top 20 and the bottom 20. Just a few other teams I wanted to pointedly note to if we're looking
If
for
you scroll to the bottom a
teams.
little bit further in the top 20, you'll see a very big SEC team.
I've not actually looked. Just let's have a look at that there.
I think about 10, they're in like the bottom
Oh
of 12.
shit.
Yes.
Sorry, excuse my language. Ole Miss. 113th,
Yeah.
42%, 38% of that offense, which makes sense with, you know, Jackson Dart going, Trey Harris going.
Bentley,
Um,
probably out of eligibility.
45% of the defense isn't bad,
Probably all.
considering their literal four starters on the
Walter
defensive line
Nolan,
are all
Newman
gone.
Nayland, Peagues, Trey
Pegues,
Amos, Chris
Jaden
Paul,
Ivey,
Ivy.
but they're
Your
still
entire
bringing back
front, your
half.
entire front seven is gone.
So their secondary must be fully intact apart from Amos. Like all the corners must be coming back,
All
and
the
all the other
rest of the D
linebackers
line
must be
has
coming
gone.
back. That's going to
To
be
one addition, they
tough.
got Prince well, didn't they?
Yeah,
Like I say, he's been a rotational player
he's not lit the
career.
world on fire, has he?
No, he's been disappointed. Yeah, that front seven is gone, and that has been their bloodline for years.
Yeah, that's going to be very tough for them. And just above them, in 109th, is Oregon. Like Oregon are wiped. Their defensive
That is
line,
finally their success
offensive
happening.
line, Dylan Gabriel, Tez Johnson.
John James,
You got the left tackle Connolly.
the
It's two.
tack. Yeah,
You've got everybody in there from Oregon. Just 43% of that team comes back. 41 offense, 46 defense. That's just been
going to
rinsed.
see why these coaches earn big money. Lane Kiffin and Dan Lanning.
But then a lot of the other big teams just above them. 105th is Georgia. 103rd is Texas. 101 is Ohio State. These are all bottom.
It doesn't surprise me seeing them teams there. I reckon they're always about there just because of.
But and generally the teams who get to the Natty have, I'd say they're the most senior teams. You don't often see a
Yeah.
Natty team who's dead young. These are like that Ohio State defense was old. They're only 40% of
Georgia,
that.
Texas, and Oregon will probably be fine.
Yeah. There's only
But
40.
I look at Ole Miss straight away and I feel like, oh my God, this. But then again, you look at it, would it be fair for Lane Kiffin to lose his job if they bottom out? Does he say, oh, well, look at everybody left. Look who I was left with.
But should he not be like they've given him a big recruiting collective? They've given him a big NIL collective. Should it be you should be getting ready for this? Your next guy's ready to go. But
Is
I
it
guess
the
it's
scapegoat he needs?
I guess it's hard when you lose literally all four defensive line starters. Like literally all of them are gone. That's got to be tough. But yeah, Georgia. I mean, Georgia are used to this by now, so I feel like they might
They
survive
plan
it
years
better
in
than
advance, don't
most.
they, for a whole class leaving.
Yeah, Texas is at 45, but that's 29% of the offense coming back. They've lost a lot of their offense.
Yeah.
Golden, gone. Quinn
Golden,
Ewers,
Bond, and
gone.
Hell all
Jaden
gone.
Blue,
Jalen
gone.
Blue. Their entire passing
Isaiah
offense gone.
Bond, gone. Kelvin Banks, gone. The right tackle, gone. So they're going to have a little bit of an adjustment period
Aaron,
next year.
you got Sorrell.
Yeah.
You got loads guys gone.
Ohio State at 101. That's mainly their defense. Only 45% of that's bad, but that was old last year. And a lot of them are going to be fifth years again this year. USC is 97, but and that's not good for Lincoln Riley. Like he's in a hot seat. He's on an absolute hot seat this year, and he's lost a lot of his team. So it's going to be tough for him as well. When we go other noticeable teams from teams who people in here especially like anyhow. Army are 86th, Brent. 51% of that team's back, 67% of the defense, but just 34% of the offense. And you can thank Ryan for that one because they've nicked your
I
running
imagine
back.
the military teams are used to big turnover because
Oh, yeah.
in.
Yeah, the service kicks in there, so that's going to be tough for them. But yeah, Army are 86 and Navy are ranked about 34th. So Navy might be able to turn that one over next year. Air Force are at 72nd, but they were very young last season. Who else is of Notre Dame are 62nd, considering they just went to a natty.
Middle of the road, not bad, yeah.
50% of the offense back, and specifically the defense is back. 66% of that defense is back, and that's losing Howard Cross, Jack Kaiser, Benjamin Morrison. Mind you, Benjamin Morrison didn't play, so that technically doesn't count. But and Xavier Watts, they lost three of the star players. But Notre Dame are also they build in advance a lot. You find especially their offensive line guys like that, so they're generally good there. Iowa State 55th, that's good for them. For those asking about Michigan, actually it's quite funny. Michigan and Michigan State are right next to one another. So Michigan are 29th. 64% of that team is coming back, 63 offense, 64 defense, but the elite players, right? Will Johnson, one of the best corners they've ever had. Mason Graham, probably the best defensive tackle
Kenneth
they've ever
Grant,
had. And Kenneth Grant, maybe the
Isaiah
second best
Stewart.
DT they've ever
Another
had.
team that
Josiah
keeps losing all
Stewart,
its D line.
Josiah Stewart gone, and then
They
offense,
got your running backs gone.
Colston Loveland, one of the best tight ends they've ever had, gone. So they've got a lot of the team back, but they've lost a lot of the stars. So that's where their thing will be. Michigan State are one place behind them, but that's 30th. That's good for that team because it's quite young, but a lot of redshirt freshmen and that from Oregon State when what's his face came over. They feel like they're in a good position to push forward this year now, especially year two with the quarterback when he hopefully eliminates a lot of them rookie errors from last year.
Yeah. They've managed to retain the solid core of, like, say, their high profile young kids from last year. And then they brought in some veteran stalwarts in the portal. I think they need a good year. I think their fans desperately need something. They need a good year. They can't just be like, they can't have the flash in the pan moments from trials. They need consistency.
Brent has something interesting here, which I'm not sure about, but he goes, if Service Academy players transfer, are they still required to complete the service requirements they agreed to for their scholarship?
If they're after a certain year, yes. I believe it's in your junior year. That's why
Yeah.
Kanye Udon isn't yet.
He's a sophomore,
He's
isn't
a
he?
sophomore. If he'd have transferred as a junior, I think he would have had to ask and get in writing that he could have gone for a year, which usually they reject.
Oh, okay. So hopefully
I think
that answers
mandatory
that one
service
then.
kicks in once you get into like your third year or you're a junior.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Hopefully that answers that one there. So
So most
yeah,
don't see their senior year anyway, unless they're allowed to graduate. They just pass out. I think a lot will join the force then.
yeah, absolutely. Potentially other candidates for this year who might be sort of knocking on. So the bigger teams, LSU are 38th here with 62% back, and that's nearly 70% of that offense coming back there. Alabama are 35 with 63% back, obviously. Second year for them. Penn State are 33. Um, so those three are quite well positioned for this year. Just another quick one, a small one I wanted to mention, and just because we love him, Brian Vincent down at ULM, who had a pretty good year last year until they stopped. 24th. Nearly 65% of that team is back as well. So we talk about culture setters. Those ULM Warhawks could be, they were fringe Sunbelty contenders this year. So they're going to be back, but you're kind of feeling the SEC is going to make a comeback this year, right? Bama should settle down. LSU should settle down. Um, Obviously, a couple of the big ones have lost it, but some of the traditional powerhouses are more stable this year. LSU especially, this feels like the year for Kelly. He's one of the few guys who's getting his prime quarterback back, where a lot of the other teams are not.
Yeah, it feels like the fringe QBs. So I'm thinking. So basically, Garrett Nussmeier, Lenoris Sellers, and Marcel Reed. They feel like they're three players that they could be primed to properly break out this year, or they should be expected to be,
And
because their
Nico.
respective teams have kept a lot of their talent and added to it. So they may capitalize on teams like Ole Miss that if it goes bad for Ole Miss, it will implode.
Hmm.
The
Where,
floor could be very low.
where are Tennessee? Tennessee are 58th. So they're middle of the pack with Nico. Only half that offense is back. They've lost the offense.
Yeah,
Cooper
Samson's
Mays,
gone. They lost their star running back.
Samson. Yeah, Cooper Mays, the center's gone.
Mays, Brew McCoy.
Brew McCoy. So, but Nico could break out year two as well. There's some potential good ones there. So, yeah, the SEC might bounce back this year. We will see with that one, but certainly it's Penn State's as well at the top of the Big Ten. If it's ever going to be Penn State, right, it's going to be now because they're never going to get a better chance. Ohio State are going new quarterback, Michigan going new quarterback, Oregon completely and utterly gutted, USC not at the height of their powers. This feels like this is the year now. They've got to go and do it now.
Yeah, I mean that's why Drew Eller returned. I think he realised, yeah, this has got to be the year I kind of write my name in the Penn State, not just stats, actually become a Penn State legend. And he does that by getting into a national title game. And with that also secures himself as like a top 5 draft pick next year.
Yeah,
So he's got there's a lot to play for Drew Eller. His future is on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And very last one. Let me just find where Minnesota are for mile marker. I feel like Minnesota are going to be down the board this year because of what they're
Yeah, it
losing.
feels like it. Brosma, Daniel Jackson, Justin Wally's gone, Danny Strigger's gone,
The other edge has gone. I can never remember. Jar Joyner.
yeah, Joyner's gone, their line
Um,
Cody Lindenberg's gone. The draft has killed Minnesota this year.
but it is, at the same time, it is a. Oh, actually, they're 40th. So I think they've lost star players. So
I think their defense has been hurt a lot.
73% back. So outside of the two edges and Lindenberg, their DBs are all young, right? Their DBs are really young,
Yeah,
or were
Florida's gone
really
by. So
young.
yeah, they got Perich and they got another young safety.
Koi Carp and that. So actually, Minnesota are number 40, 50% of the offense. That's where the trouble is. Daniel
Yeah,
Jackson
that might
gone.
not be a good thing, but
Yeah.
Jenner's still there.
But they bought in Mendoza from Cal, didn't they? Or
Yeah.
did no, was that Indiana? I can never remember who
No,
Minnesota
no,
bring in.
Minnesota didn't get Mendoza. No.
No, Mendoza went to Indiana, but it's still 40%, 40th. So Minnesota bring in, and that defense, you bring in nearly 75% of that back, and that's their stalwart bit there. So, things could be good for Minnesota this year. We'll see. Indiana are 44th, not far behind. So these Big Ten, you know, reprobates just on the edge who are looking to cause problems are fairly intact this year. It's going to be fascinating. Right. Let us move on from college bit, and we're just going to have a sort of a little chat about the combine now and about the draft. Just specifically, if you have any questions you want to ask about them and ask about us, because as I say, I wasn't able to fully prepare a ton here today. So, we'll go through that. Obviously, we've started hearing about some interviews the Lions have had. Let me just go through the ones that we've had so far that we definitely know about. We've had a pod tracker on there, but where are we? Here we go. Mike Payton's tracker. Let's just go on and quickly get it. So we've had formal meetings at the combine so far. LSU edge Savion Jones, Marshall edge Mike Green, Ohio State edge Jack Sawyer, Texas A&M edge Nick Skoughton, Auburn edge Jalen McLeod, Minnesota edge slash outside linebacker Cody Lindenberg, Alabama edge slash outside linebacker Jihad Campbell, Oklahoma State edge Colin Oliver, Notre Dame. It says edge Howard Cross, but he's a DT. Michigan defensive lineman Kenneth Grant. And then we've got Old Miss linebacker Chris Poole. And then we've got Penn State linebacker Kobe King. I mean, I'm struggling to see a pattern in there, Ryan, as to who they're interviewing at the minute. Pretty much everybody they've had a formal interviews with so far is an edge, outside linebacker, or DT, or a linebacker. Like that front seven is pretty much everybody. They're not hiding this.
No. I mean, they've made it clear they're preparing for in maybe a year's time. They're preparing for replacing Anzalone. Like I say, he's obviously. I'm going to give him another year, probably extend him, but they're looking for life after him already, which makes sense. Also, not to mention Derek Barnes, pending free agent, so the linebacker room needs addressing. D line with the amount of like say one, all the players, two injuries, three, quite a lot of free agents. Yes, Brad come out himself and said the trenches will be big. We need guards. We need defensive line. It's no mystery. And the players that he's listed are players I would have very much expected. Like I said, don't get me wrong, there's a few guys there. There's a few guys we've met with that I don't think we've got a chance at. They would just
No.
not be there. And genuinely, I'm not going up far enough to get up some of them. But I've noticed one thing: a lot of guys offer the versatility. A lot of guys, like say Jalen Walker, guys like Jihad Campbell, that can play multiple positions, and we're going to need that. So we're looking at the right kind of guys.
So there's one player who they've seen twice now at the Shrine Bowl and at the Combine. Chris Paul.
Yeah. A lot of people are enamored with Chris Paul, Ole Miss linebacker. A lot have him as a traditional like inside linebacker. A lot of guys have him as the best. Like I said, they'd say Jihad more of a tweener, a bit more flexible, but as a rigid kind of centre field guy, yeah, I like him. I like what he has to bring. Like I say, he's very experienced, and I'm not surprised we like him. I'm also not surprised when you promote your linebackers coach to defensive coordinator that suddenly you're talking to a lot of linebackers because they're going to factor into what we want to do pretty big next year.
Exactly. I don't think Malcolm's going to be healthy for the season.
Yeah.
Like you say, Anzalone's on the last
Paul
year of
and
his
these running
deal.
players, I have no idea where he goes.
No,
I don't know
it
what the
feels.
spectrum is. I don't know
I,
what's too high.
I feel like round two is his area
Yeah,
now.
I feel like you start at 60 where we're picking
Yeah,
the back.
I feel like that's. I feel like he's like an early candidate maybe for that pick
Informal
if
as
they think of
well.
putting there.
Jay Higgins has met the Lions informally.
Hmm,
And he says, Jack
that's.
Campbell taught me a lot at Iowa, a former Iowa Hawkeye teammate.
Then you know what? There's a lot of people, and there's a lot of prospects saying good things. So I know Jihad Campbell's had nice words to say about us. Walter Nolan, I believe, has spoken to them as well. And you know what? When
There's
I
no way I think we get anywhere near him.
Do you know when you like you talk about someone, you just can't help but get a little bit giddy,
I would
and you don't know
absolutely
why?
not
Like
want Baltimore in the middle of our line.
I'm giddy for Walter Nolan. Like at this point, it's
He's a
one of my
player,
favorite picks. It's one of my favorite picks to make at 28 now because like him, Reader, and McNeil together, like good luck. And you've got to deal with them three, and then you've got Hutch coming from his 3-4 linebacker role. Like, yeah, enjoy trying to block that because if you're
He's one of
putting
them
two
players.
guys on Hutch,
If he starts sliding, like you'll prick your ears a little bit.
I think you'd go straight up for him, wouldn't you?
I mean, like
You'd
what?
be
How far does he have to fall?
20.
20?
If he's at 20, I'm making
You're bringing up
calls.
21, and then you're going up 7 spots. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
I'm
probably going to
doing
cost you your
that.
second round pick, but if he's there, I reckon they do it.
Yeah, and you can flip some more picks or whatever. I don't care. I'm not about I'm not about quantity this year. I'm about quality. We just need those few guys
He would
to
add a
finish
very
us
big need because,
off.
like I say, there's a good chance that Pecco, Onwuzurike, Davenport, a lot
Hmm.
of guys on the line are departing.
Yeah, exactly. And you need a reader.
In a
Reader's on the
big
last year
hole.
of his deal.
Readers, like I say, Reader is basically a couple of year rental.
Yeah, he's on the last year of his deal, and ideally, you want that deal to finish next year. You want it because you need to get
Yeah,
you
you
need to
need to
get
replace him here because I've no intention of extending him.
no, and you need to get some of the bigger contracts off your books to make way for all the big
Same as a guy
contracts that
with
are
Smith.
about to
Like
come
I say.
in.
There's no way
Yeah,
you restructure him. Like I say, you
no,
keep
just let
him,
him play his deal out.
or you cut him if you find someone and save 5 million.
Mm.
You don't. You're not
Let him play his
reworking and
deal
extending
out.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just letting these guys play the deals out, and hopefully the next guy's in, and then that's one less problem to worry about going forward. In terms of other guys who've met, Cody Lindenberg said the meeting was very holistic, and he talks about the emphasis and attention to detail on defense, which he really likes. Kenneth Grant has said he would love to play for the Lions, which I'm
I
not
mean,
gonna lie, I think you're gonna
I'd love you to
struggle.
play for Detroit, Kenneth, but
I'd love to,
another
but this
guy that you're going to have to trade up
you're
far
gonna
for potentially.
you're gonna have to prise him out of Jim Harbaugh's cold dead hands. Like there is no way Jim Harbaugh's gonna let us come up and grab him. And
No,
not,
if you
I
ring
feel
him
like
up,
that's
if he sees Brad calling, he ain't picking up
yeah.
the phone.
I look at that and and I know it's lazy to say he would go after Michigan players, but he once described Kenneth Grant as a gift from God, and the Chargers need a defensive tackle, and he's in that
You just
area
know a
where they're
guy and you know he
picking.
can play. I don't care. If I'm Jim
Yeah,
Harbaugh, you don't overthink it.
no, of course you don't,
You don't
but
have to find a guy that fits what you need. You find a
yeah,
way to fit that guy into what.
yeah,
Not to mention, there's
absolutely,
a good chance Joey Bosa's getting cut. So no one
yeah.
can say, and Khalil Mack's going. You can't tell me that their D line is not about to be ravaged.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's been plenty of others as well. Say Jack Sawyer has spoken with us. He's
Yeah,
spoken about
obviously, like
that.
I say, because of where he's from, obviously that's upset and divided a lot of fans.
Yeah.
I genuinely
Um,
feel like there are Michigan fans out there that would not be able to cheer for him.
for who? Oh, for
Jack
Jack
Sawyer.
Sawyer, yeah. But they would cheer for Josiah Stewart, who's just no good, who they'd love to have here. It's like, yeah, you've got to put your biases aside for this
Yeah, I
one.
look. The more I've watched Jack Sawyer, the more I feel like Jack Sawyer is going to slide,
Yeah,
but not because of he's bad, but because a lot of guys are just leapfrogging him.
yeah, absolutely.
There's a chance he's there towards 60, which isn't
Potentially.
crazy to think now.
Yeah,
I'll move from 60 to 50.
yeah. Um, I know they've talked to Kobe King as well, the Penn State linebacker. He's a Lions fan, apparently, by all
Yeah, he's
like everybody's Lions fans
from
now.
Detroit, Michigan. He went to Michigan High School. Yeah, started all 13 games for Penn State. So yeah,
Yeah,
I think he's probably maybe it could be a good day to pick up.
yeah. But the one I am most excited about, who might be in our consideration here, um, and people have spoken very highly of him today, and I'm a bit perplexed by the comment was earlier was said is they got issues. Nick Scowerton. So he has met with the Lions and
He
he
was the
says like
first big guy I saw. Yeah,
he's talked about how he's so impressed about how they want to build a Super Bowl champion now and he wants to get on that ride and his drop for me is inexplicable. This is where people look at the numbers, and he said today the difference between playing at Purdue and Texas A&M. At Purdue, they told him to go and kill the quarterback. At TAMU, you're asked to do a lot more. You're asked to do your run defense. You're asked to drop into coverage a bit, and then you can go and get the quarterback. But he's had to do it from a different side as well. Like he's had to adjust to this. And of course, the numbers are not going to be as high, but he's still an incredibly gifted player. And I don't get the blowback on him. And it feels like another one of the, if they just let him fall to us and we don't have to give up anything for him, that we're essentially cheating.
yeah, he's a guy that I'm seeing a lot of mocks now. I'm seeing a lot get aboard the Nick Scowerton train. 6'4", 280. He's got a good build to rush the passer. And with a bit, like I say, a bit more muscle, he's got enough of a frame, enough weight to play against the run.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's going to be a guy that realistically you want him on many downs. Like, he's not going to be a guy you want to be taking out and just, yeah. Guys, like I say, that just go out there and kill the quarterback, don't play that many snaps in a game. You've got to be more well rounded. And there are guys we're not talking to, like say, like Princely, that lack run game. And he will just be a pass rusher for his rookie year, like I say. And yeah, usually they're the ones that struggle for any production as a rookie. Whereas Nick Scowerton, he'll probably find himself on the field quite a lot.
I
And if he
feel
does fall 28, then yeah, you probably run to the podium.
Because I feel like the one thing the Lions have done wrong, and there's not many things they have done wrong with drafting. They've, like you said, guys who just rush the passer don't have their place in there. But I think the Lions have gone too far in the other direction. They've gone after big ends who are good against the run, but are no good at getting to the passer. And you need to have a threat from both sides, right? Like Pascal's just not done it. Davenport just doesn't do it. Like they've got big guys, big heavy set guys who can't rush the passer. You've got to find a guy who can crush the can, as they say, and stop the run. But at the end of the day, you need a guy who can get to the quarterback as well. There's got to be a good balance there, and it feels like the Lions have gone the wrong way with that balance. Scowerton would redress that balance.
Yeah. Like I say, Scowerton is a good blend of size, speed, strength, athleticism. Like you say, yeah, he's very well rounded. And like I
Yeah.
say, like there's a lot of guys out there. Like you look at Mike Green, and you question, can he play against the run consistently? That's the one thing he's got to prove to people, isn't it? Like I said, he's proven I can kill the quarterback, but
Yeah.
can I be consistent? Can I shed blocks? Can I get past the tight end? Like I say, or will they wash me out and they run my way and I give up a big run play? That's the things like say that worry me about like going up for a guy like that. And yeah, like I say, and obviously I've seen his comments today about those accusations. Obviously, people are saying like, "Oh, they didn't like his answers." I don't think there's many other ways you could answer that question. Literally just said nothing's come of it. No one's given me any proof of what the accusations were. Like I say, obviously it soured my time at Virginia, so I left the portal. Like I say, some guys know why, some
Oh,
people
is this
didn't
Mike
know why.
Green? Is this
Yeah,
Mike Green you're on about?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, show me something
Don't get me wrong, like I say,
tangible.
yeah, two accusations at two different ages and two different schools. It's bad. Like I say, and I get it. Like I say, and it's not a good look, but nothing's come of them. Like I say, if something comes out at a later date, but character concerns.
Because
I mean, in recent years, character concerns. All I've heard about some players is character concerns, and they've gone on to be bloody good.
Micah Parsons. Do you
Yeah,
remember that
Micah
smear? Do
Parsons and
you remember
Yuki
that?
Gross-Matos. We were told don't touch them.
Especially Detroit media ran a massive smear campaign against Micah Parsons and said he's not a culture fit. He's not this. He's not
After
that.
that Penn
I,
State locker room, they were
I
told,
don't.
like, oh, you can't touch them guys. They bully people.
I
They're
don't.
homophobic.
Yeah.
They use gay, like they use chants, like I said, they bully players.
But Micah's not had any notable problems. I don't
No, I ain't
think.
seen any real issues with him. Gross Matos, like I say, he was just like a ringleader and a bully. I ain't seen issues with him.
And on a Cowboys team that loves to draft bad boys, he's been well behaved. He's not been Sam Williams. Like
Oh,
he's been he's
yeah.
and this is where I have the issues. It's like you've got to balance this. You can't just because there's some lives fans the second they hear even like a murmur of a thing against a guy, they're like, he's done, he's off.
Saw that post the other day, like since like the last 5, 7 years, like who's had the least arrests of all NFL
Mm.
players? The Lions with two, but that don't mean we just draft good eggs.
You've
I mean,
got it.
it's
You
bad, like I said,
sometimes you've got to draft a you've got to draft a prick like someone who's got a little bit of
like I said, I
tune
love
to
JMO,
them
but he's
and
been in trouble with the law like 3 times already.
but I
He's
love
not been
JMO,
arrested, like I
and I
say,
think
yeah.
we need a JMO. Everybody needs a JMO. JMO's got the most passion about this team. Screw whether he's like kept his hands clean or not. No one cares more about the Lions than JMO does.
No.
Like he genuinely gives a damn, and I love him for that. And I think you've got to be careful to not just have a team full of goody two shoes. You've got to have a little bit of. I mean, like the Eagles. AJ Brown threatening to quit on his team this year. CJ Gardner Johnson, we know how much of a so and so he is.
Yeah.
Like they've got guys who have attitude and act out, and you're looking there thinking, this is a dysfunctional team. They just won a Super Bowl. Like they just won a
Got his
Super
time
Bowl.
Reddick. Right, say look at the carry on, how
Yeah.
bad he's made himself look. But don't tell me as soon as he's not available, he doesn't have every agent in the phone ringing him up, despite being clearly trouble.
Exactly. I think we've just gone way too overboard. When you talk about character, like just people are wiping him off, saying not good for us.
I
No,
don't doubt, I'm
no,
not downplaying the
stop.
accusations of Mike Green, but I say ultimately,
We can't
unless
just
I see hardcore proof that a guy
yeah,
I should not touch.
we can't just say he's guilty.
No,
So we've got to act under the assumption that he is
yeah, that he's
who he
never done
says he
anything
is.
like I say, or that yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah, there've been
And
a
if
lot
it's
of guys
shown,
like I said that have done serious stuff.
and if it's shown it's true, fine. That way you're like, okay, it's done. But you don't just go on hearsay and people saying this, that, and the other, and you don't know who
Yeah. Some
is
GMs,
saying
like I
this.
say, Mike Green, he won't be on their board. They've
No,
already ripped up his name.
no. But
And
you'd
in
like to
2 years,
think,
they might be like, shit, he passed
yeah,
us. We were picking there, we passed on him.
yeah.
And he went out and got Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I mean, in fairness, the Mika draft we did pretty well ourselves, but
Yeah.
still, like, there was no reason for like
If
you
a
would
lot
have
of
him on
teams
your team
pass on
now.
Mike Green, where he's coming up to 27, I
You
don't, I take, I go for it. I take the plunge.
you got
Maybe
to
in
get the
2 years, I
value.
regret it. But
You,
yeah,
you got to get the value somewhere for sure. So yeah, because Carlton goes, do we think he's not off our board then, Nick Scout? I'm like, Nick Scout is not going to be off our board.
yeah, I think he's
No
at the top.
way.
I think he's near the top of the board.
I would say so, because again, you come out of Purdue, you've seen George Karlaftis, the success he's had. They teach you technically well in Purdue, but Tamu, it gives you the versatility which you need to thrive in the NFL, like to play against the run a bit more, to do more of that. And look, Will Held just got a transfer to Clemson. Karlaftis, multiple Super Bowl winner. This Georgia, Purdue know what they're doing with their edge guys, and they do it well. And Scouting's only had 1 year to adapt to a brand new system in Tamu, so I don't take him off. He should not be off a board at all, unless there's something tangible
With
there.
a free
He
edition, like
he
I
should
said,
be at the top.
yeah,
He's
you don't
in
have to throw him in either.
no, and he's in the category of guys you trade up for. Walter Nolan, your category you trade up for. Nick Skouerton, you trade up for. Mike Green, if he's clean and falls a bit, you trade up for. Because I want to trade up this year if we're gonna go and get a defensive line guy, let's go get the good one. Let's not just take what's left at 28. Let's go get our guy. And that's what Brad does. He will go get his guy, not whatever guy's left at that point. So, and that's why I think they're doing so many interviews, because you've got to try and wheedle them down to get that one special guy, which is why they're asking them all there. Brent asked a question. I don't know if we're going to be answering this, but we can have a little pontification over it. So apparently, Dave Burkett walked out of an interview today after two questions. And Jeff Risdon apparently has backed this up because he was not enamored whatsoever, not a Lions player. Wide receiver listening to an interview who the Lions, or specifically Dave, would hate. You got any theories behind that as to who that potentially might be, who's not a Lion in the wide receiver class?
Oh,
Let me just get the combine participant list up again. And we'll just go through them and we'll see who is he not impressed by. Let's have a little. So wide receivers at the combine: Andrew Armstrong, Arkansas; Eli Kayamano, Stanford; Elijah Badger, Florida; Jack Beck, TCU; Isaiah Bond. In fact, I'll just say them by name because you know where they're from. Ja'Cory Brooks, Sam Brown, Pat Bryant, Luther Burden, Bo Collins, Kimari Deek, Emeka Ibuka, Daquan Felton, Ty Felton, Jacolby George, Matthew Golden, Trey Harris, Jaden Higgins, Trayshawn Holden, Jimmy Horn Jr., Torrey Horton, Kobe Hudson, Travis Hunter, Daniel Jackson, Tez Johnson, Josh Kelly, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Jalen Lane, Dominic Lovett, Brew McCoy, Tet McMillan, Kanata Mumpfield, Nick Nash, Isaiah Neyer, Jalen Noel, Caden Prather, Xavier Restrepo, Jalen Royals, Arian Smith, Rock Taylor, Isaac Tesla, Dante Thornton Jr., Jordan Watkins, Theo Weiss, Antoine Wells, LeJontay Wester, Ricky White, Kyle Williams, Savion Williams. Any names scream out from that? The one I looked at and thought, maybe was, oh Christ, I've lost it. Who was I thinking he might be on about? Restrepo. I know Restrepo can be a little confident.
I'm trying to think about that list, who we'd meet with.
Oh, well, it's just, no, it was, they're doing their interviews. The reporter's just going on the interviews. It's
All
not
right.
who the Lions have met with. This is a beat writer.
So
Apparently was just not impressed with the answers he was giving. So who's not interviewed well? Or not interviewed to the press well. Trying to think in that system. I don't feel like there's any real bad boys in here.
Has Arian Smith got an attitude?
I don't know. I wouldn't be able to say. I don't know enough about him. I feel like a lot of these guys will be confident and they'll be, kind of full of it a bit. I mean, where would we look in here? Oh, I don't know. That's a very tough question. I don't know who would. Maybe Burden. People say Burden's got an attitude. I love Luther Burden, but maybe it rubs people the wrong way, the answers he gives. Because he's very, very confident
Or
of himself.
Isaiah Bond, if they're asked why did they leave Texas so early?
Potentially, yeah,
Maybe a bit of
maybe,
arrogance,
yeah, yeah,
naivety.
yeah. I don't think I can come up with a. I think it may be
I
like,
know the questions about the answers. Maybe I
yeah,
can.
yeah, maybe. I know Restrepo's a bit. I love Restrepo as well, though, so I don't know. Maybe we'll have to wait and see if anything comes out about that. I've not been able to see anything directly on there. Let me just see if there's any other questions knocking around. I don't think there are at the minute. Where were we? Uh, oh, it said it was on the DLP Combine video yesterday. Wide receiver said he didn't watch much football. Ooh.
Oh, do you know what? I don't really care about that.
Oh no, I don't.
I feel like loads of players in the past at Combine have said, like, do you like football? Like, I'm sure I've heard loads of players say, do you know what? I don't.
I don't know. I think some people feel like they can second guess Brad and Dan now. They've got to love football. They've got to do this. They've got to do that. And I think then some people are starting
You don't
to
have to eat, sleep, like say, you don't have to watch college
unnecessarily,
football at all.
yeah, they're unnecessarily sort of
As long as you just watch
throwing them
your own games
aside.
and look for yourself. I don't
Yeah.
care if you watch anything else. I don't care if you
If
watch the NFL. I don't care if you hate the NFL.
yeah. Wide receiver said he didn't. In fact, it'd be funny. Are there any Iowa receivers in this? Because they won't have watched much football because they don't get past to.
No, I don't think we've
It'd
named
be,
a wide receiver.
I don't think an Iowa receiver wouldn't have much tape apart from blocking for a 2 yard run or for Cade McNamara throwing 50 yards over his target or something like that. Like you wouldn't want to watch much football if you were an Iowa wide receiver. Marcus says he appreciates the Minnesota love earlier. Um, yeah, if there's any other questions you guys want to ask before we get on out of here today, then just let us know. No, no, did you? So we've not had the measurements yet. Like the measurements is going to be the fun stuff. They start tomorrow.
Or, isn't it?
Yeah, they start tomorrow. In fact, no, actually, Ash did ask us one, and he's gonna do him with me if I don't answer it. It was about who's going to rise the most during the combine. Let me just find the exact thing
Oh yeah,
itself
who
about what
might?
he said. The players who will be massive risers with the combine and thus be overdrafted. Who's at the threat of being overdrafted because of the combine? And I'm immediately going to say this, and
Jaden
I'm going to,
Boyle,
oh, really?
because I think he'll blow the combine up. I think he's
Oh,
going to test incredibly well. And I think
see,
not overdrafted because he's a bad player. I think he's just you can find probably a similar production later. But I reckon athletically, he's just going to do. I think he's just going to do fantastically.
I think he's going to be one of the better catching running backs as well, because
I
everyone's going to
reckon
be on
it's
this.
40, but I don't think anyone gets close to the record. I think it'll be a good, great 40, but I reckon he does run a really good 40.
Everybody's going to be like Jaden Blue, he's going the James Cook route. He's got really good hands. He's an underrated receiver, but he's just not got much production in college. And now people are going to look at that and go, maybe he might be the next one. If you can catch, it gives you a bit of an unfair advantage compared to what you are as a runner. And with all these great running backs in the draft, I agree, he could go high. I'm going to stick it to my LNU brethren here. I'm not going to say Shamar Stewart. And he might get raised 15 spots, but a raise of 15 spots in the first round is akin to going from like round 7 to round 4 or something like that. That's a big. I
Zaria
mean,
Thomas.
I mean, yeah, he's probably going to kill the combine
I
as
think
well.
he's
But
going to kill the combine despite having what to me is moderate production and
oh,
experience.
he's going to be vastly overdrafted.
Yeah, I think he'll
Anyhow,
be
without the
heavily overdrafted.
combine, he's going to be vastly
I think the
overdrafted.
measurements will be fantastic. I think he'll blow up some of the drills. Like I say,
I,
next thing you know, it's probably going to be a top 10, 15 pick.
I mean, help me with Shamar Stewart, right? Am I wrong in thinking that a guy who you're going to give a first round pick to, he's only ever got 2 sacks in this season? Now, I know we're not the be all and end all of stats on here. It's about how you play, but as a 6'6", 280-pound edge or whatever he is, you never got more than 2 sacks in a year. And your missed tackle rate is at 27%. That is huge, especially when you're talking about, the run game, about trying to bring mobile quarterbacks down, trying to get them to the ground. Like, you've got no productivity. You got a lot of nearly got them, but didn't get them, and that's only going to get worse in the NFL because you've got even less time to get after them. You can't tackle. You've got no form and you are literally living off your athletic traits. You are what athletically you could be great. But how many times in recent years have we seen these athletic freaks with no production in college do nothing in the NFL? 2 years ago, it was Tom Yewer. Everybody loved him out of Northwestern, and he shot up boards after the combine. What's he done in the NFL? Nothing. I don't know. Am I missing something with him, or am I justified in my view?
I think there's just too many scouts and GMs out there that covet the things you can't teach, the God given natural physical tools and talents. There's always somewhere out there. Do you know, like when you see a pretty girl in a mugshot that's been like attempted murder and someone says, I can fix her? That's what the lack of production, but the 6'6" pass rusher is. Yeah, she might have a screw loose, and like I say, she might have been a dangerous site in the past, but I can fix him. I can make him something that he's not been because he's got the stuff I can't teach him. And yeah, we still firmly live in that society. I can still see him being a first rounder when he looks athletically like an Adonis
Mm.
and he turns up looking like Hercules in his little vest. He just passes the eye test.
He does, but the Lions don't need him.
The eye test goes all the way at people.
And genuinely, the one good thing the Lions have done is they've never coveted these sort of guys either, and they
The
stay
other
well
guy,
away from them.
Deone Walker. Watch him have a great combine, and I hate him. I don't want to do him because I think he's lazy, and I think he will let himself down next level.
I
Watch him
mean,
destroy the combine.
there's a reason. Like, just as the season ended, I think he was in like the 40 to 50 range, wasn't he? Now he's in the 90 to 100 range. And there's a reason why. Don't ever forget that reason why. Don't let a good combine fool you, but he will likely kill it, won't he?
He will redeem himself.
Hmm. It will. Who else is going to absolutely slay this combine and get overdrafted? I don't think any of the quarterbacks are going to do that. In terms of tight ends, oh, Arroyo's injured again. That's a dagger blow for him. Like it's the injuries, right? He's in fringe round one territory, but these injuries are just going to kill him.
Yeah, it's it's a position where the combine really kind of is important.
Hmm.
I say like look at other guys like uh let's say someone like Ringing Stool or who's the former ASU Conyers, Jalen Conyers. They
Yeah.
get really good combines and they could kind of separate themselves. Like I say, you lack that opportunity then.
What else? Darius Alexander. He'd probably slay his combine numbers. Whether it's unfair to say he'll be drafted that high, I don't know. I think that might be a little bit harsh, but potentially. Who else is on here who could? I saw Razi Ruaku's been interviewing well, which I like. People are really enamored with him. He's another in the 28 territory who I wouldn't mind whatsoever. Oh, Landon Jackson. Landon Jackson might just slay. He's another of the big
6'6",
6'6"
255.
guys.
Yeah.
I think Landon Jackson could have himself a very good
He
day,
does have
and
production as well, though.
he does, but it's inconsistent production. But it's better than,
He's a
Shamar
no man's
Stewart.
land because I feel like he's way gone at 60, but 28 is too rich. I feel like if I trade out the first round, then suddenly I'm very interested in Landon Jackson.
If you're putting a gun to my head and making me pick Shamar Stewart or Landon Jackson at 28, I'm picking Landon Jackson, quite
And if I can get
frankly.
like to 33 or 35 and pick up, like say, an extra second round pick, something, I
Mm,
might take Landon Jackson, yeah.
yeah. In terms of overdrafting, there are guys I want to do well, so the drafted Peebles, I feel like if he has a good one, he'll deservedly get his flowers and go up boards. Anyone else who, if they kill it, I mean, Princely, right? If Princely slays the combine, then he could be well overdrafted. Like
Yes,
he could
because he
go,
lacks athleticism.
and that's a first round thing. Like if you jump up half a round in the first round, that is a significant jump in my eyes. Like he could be overdrafted.
Yeah, because like you say, he's got good build, not a great build. He lacks athleticism. Like I
Yeah,
say, there's lots of visible flaws in the game that he might
mm,
be able to mask.
yeah. Any of the DBs? Are any of the DBs gonna? I feel like if Denzel Burke's gonna test well, he shouldn't go high. But he might get overdrafted as well. I feel like he's gonna test really well. I don't know if there's anyone else really I'm thinking of who's going to get vastly overdone at this moment in time. Certainly no one can think of in there. I tell you what, someone who's rising just organically, we'll just talk about draft now a bit. Maxwell Hairston's rising organically.
Yeah,
He's he's well into the 30s now, but richly so. You've
yeah.
mentioned him for a long time now.
Multiple honourable mentions. First
Mm.
SEC all teams, like say, had a great year on a a Kentucky team that was flailing for the best part. Like I say, he's played against all that SEC talent. He's his measurements will be closely watched because he's only at like 5'11" now. Like I say, you don't want him to fall into the 5'10s and have the small hands because then the bias kicks in. But
Yeah.
he's a player that's always played above his average physical tools anyway.
Mm.
I mean, the Lions, I mean, actually, no, there's a real opportunity that the Lions do need a corner high. Because like I say, I think Carlton Davis is going to be leaving. So is it too early to think in the second round, Lions take a corner?
Mm.
Do you want a rookie corner, a second round corner? Probably not. But
Yeah.
if you're at 60 and Maxwell Hairston is somehow there, I'm very tempted.
Mm. Absolutely. And just quickly going back to the overdrafted one again, a good place to find overdrafted prospects because of a good combine is in the 40-yard dash, right?
Yes.
Who's and immediately screams to me is Isaiah Bond.
Yes.
Could absolutely
If he
shoot up
runs like a 4
boards.
3, he's probably going to get taken like 25 places, probably higher than he is already.
I feel like Isaiah Bond's a good one for that. I feel like, is it harsh to say if we're doing drills and that Jalen Milroe's going to get vastly overdrafted because of his athletic ability?
Or
I feel like
he'll have a very good combine.
that's what I mean. I feel like he's going to get pushed to a position that might be called overdrafting. I think that's a potential overdrafter from the combine.
Yeah, potentially. And then if you look at the QBs that need a good combine, like say Carl McCord, Tyler Shook,
Hmm.
because he's got the 6'6" like Jared Goff build, and you just look at him and stream like, oh God, like you say, he can't move. Like you say, and yeah, obviously people use that knock against Jared. They're going to use it against Tyler. Too tall, too slender, and also the lack of foot coordination is there. So someone like Tyler could do with a good 40. He kind of needs to do all the athleticism drills to prove that he is not just a big, lanky pocket passer.
Yeah, yeah, agreed there. Who else is? I know Tootin's slated to run a good one, but he should go up boards. I don't think he's going to be overdrafted. Ooh, who else is in there? I think like Tez Johnson. He's going to run a quick 40. I don't think
I
he
mean,
should
if
be
his
drafted.
weight, he needs to.
Yeah, I think he's gonna get the
Ed Johnson's
treatment
going to be
of
really light.
he is. I think I would like to see him put on a little bit of mass. It's going to be interesting to see how much he weighs at. Some of these guys are going to need to bulk up a bit, like Kobe, not Kobe Bryant. It's going to be interesting to see what he
Yeah,
tests at. Is he
these
going to be
long
in the
corners,
180s?
6'1", 6'2", but when they're 175, 180 pounds.
I would love to see him at 180, just a little bit over 180, because I don't think it's going to take away anything of what he's good at. I think he's going to be absolutely fine. Oh, right. Is there anyone else on there? I don't think so. I don't think we're going to see any massive ones out of this. I mean, there are guys who should go up the boards, like because of this. Like the Cal corner should go up the boards. Noel Williams is vastly underrated, who should go up boards, and Williams, his compadre there, he should go up boards as well. But yeah, I'm not seeing any who are going to get absolutely flung out into a new dimension because of that. Otherwise, Brent goes, who was the small school tight end that didn't get invited to the combine? That was the Towson tight end.
After Runyon,
Oh, yes, Carter Runyon, the Towson tight end. Well done. Yeah, he didn't get invited.
and he won't have a
And he
pro day.
should. No. Oh, and how annoying is it now? We talked last week about North Dakota State, Cam Miller, and now Shadur's not going to do anything there. I don't even think Cam's decided whether he's going to do anything there yet. Quinn Ewers has, I think, reluctantly said he's going to do it. It's like these guys are pulling out of everything. This is what I don't like. Shadur is going to do interviews only. You do that at your damn pro day. Why do you need to go to the combine to do that? Why can't Cam Miller go and do it? It's just annoying, isn't it? A lot of the top guys are not doing anything this year.
Yeah, that's why you should have participants that once they become interview only,
Mm.
they get
Opens
they're
up a
still there, they
space,
get replaced.
opens up a space for someone
Yeah.
to
You
do.
then like you draw up a short list of position names, and if they decide we're not going to work out,
Mm.
we give them in the workout.
And you should know like a week or two in advance
And
of the
yeah, you
combine.
know
You know
what
what you want to do.
they can't decide like the day before. Oh, suddenly I'm not going to do anything because they'll probably get shouted at. Like you should have told us sooner.
Marmorka goes its ego. Do you reckon? I mean, it's like who was the Michigan? A job. No, a job got injured at his pro day, didn't he?
Yeah,
Or did he get injured at the combine? I know there's people who was it? It was the tackle last year. It was the injury-prone tackle out of was it Georgia who injured his hammy in the 40? Oh, who was it? You remember him? Um, what was it now? Was it
Emeritus
Georgia?
Mims.
Yes, Amarius Mims injured himself at the combine, right? Doing the
Yeah,
40, I
he didn't do
believe.
anything else then, did he?
No, and he had injury worries going. Like I think some events should be like offensive linemen should not do the 40, defensive linemen should not do the 40. We should take that out. But I can see why some would, But again, then maybe you should just have them at the combine at all. Because I know Abdul Carter's not doing anything apart from his interviews and that. A lot of the top prospects are. I think Mason Graham is, though. Fair play to him. Apparently, he had one of the biggest processions of reporters around him today. Like, I feel like Mason Graham should go and slay this combine now and go and get the number one overall pick.
Yeah, because let's say be interesting to see what Travis Hunter does do because he's going in as a corner.
Yes. Which drills is he going to do? Because
What drills does he do?
I don't know if he's allowed to do both days, but I think he would if he's given the opportunity.
It just feels like, I suppose, he feels like a player that can't get any higher.
No.
Not going to go before Carter, and he's not going to go before a couple of quarterbacks. It just feels like he's locked in at like 4 or 5, and there's not a lot he can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I don't think there's a lot else to go through here. I think we've had most of our questions. Just a few ones from Brent. Brent goes in terms. He says Minnesota are going to overachieve next year. Program is gaining momentum. Yeah, let's hope well for the Golden Gophers there. Bryce Underwood leads the Wolverines to a natty. No, no, he's not going to. I don't think maybe he could. I'm just gonna go on a no though that he doesn't do so well in his first year. I don't even know if he starts. I'd still start what's his face from I'd still start Mikey Keene. I'd still start Mikey Keene and work Bryce Underwood in, but I guess you got a sloppy non-con schedule. You can do that there. I don't think Matt's seen my message yet, so we just can sit here and gas until he gets here. Um, has he seen it? No, he hasn't. I don't know. Is there anything else about the combine you want to mention or anything, or the draft in general? I mean, I guess we could. Let's have a look. I was going to do this at another time, but in terms of what position is going to be the most represented in the first round now, um, let me. I don't know. Because the combine could change this, right? Because I think, like we talked about receiving prospects, there are so many receiving prospects on the fringe of the first round that I feel like 20 to 30, especially. Because I didn't think there were going to be that many this year. I thought there might be three. Now it feels like very secretly there could be six or seven of these guys knocking round in there, especially with the fifth years and everything and wanting the extra year of the contract. Um, I don't know. Who do you see been um like the most represented? The quarterbacks, D lines, edges. Because the edges are dropping and the wide receivers are rising. That feels like the theme of this thing at the moment. Let me have a look, see who's.
It feels like it's going to be. It's got to be defense.
No, I think between defense and offense, it's going to be clearly a
I think
defensive
in
based
general, it's
draft.
going to be defensive line.
But I don't know. More and more people are saying that three running backs are going in the first, and I'm a bit because
I say outside line. If I say edge rusher, so if I get Jalen Walker, I get Mike Green, I get Abdul Carter. Maybe
Edges.
Tinsley.
I mean,
You
James
get Nick
Pierce.
Stewart, and that could be 5.
James Pierce, depending on the allegations. Shamar Stewart will be in there. He
Stewart's at maybe 6.
shouldn't be.
It's
Mikael
who do you think? You got
Williams.
Walter Nolan, you got Kenneth Grant,
You got to put Mikael Walker in there
got
as
yeah,
well. He'll
you
be
got
in.
Mikel Walker, you've got Graham. So you've got 4 DTs.
Yeah.
In receiver for me, I just see Tet, Burden, and Golden.
I mean, we got linked with Oladejo the other day. That's another outside linebacker type as well.
Yeah, that would be a disaster. I hate every single bit of that at 28. I think that's ludicrous.
ESPN had Walter Nolan going to the Eagles at 32. It's like the rich get richer, man. That's just
God,
sucks
I hate that
big
so much.
time. Maxwell Hairston actually got up to 29 in their latest one. Like he's in first round consideration now at corner. In terms
I
of
don't see many corners.
what we're saying running backs wise, then because here everyone's saying Dallas need a running back. So that's fine. But Giante's off the board like well before then. People have Giante at like 5 or 6 are saying the Raiders need one, but then the Steelers need one. And me,
I only have Hampton and John T in the first round.
you know, I somehow seem to know what the Steelers want every year, and I do feel like they need a high tier running back.
I don't see Gordon getting in the first round.
I mean, are there 3 in this one? Who's the third, if there is? I don't think they have the Steelers taking one. No, they have them going wide receiver. Azariah Thomas goes at 23, which is just whilst Kelvin Banks goes at 25, like there is no justice in the world.
I don't think there will be a position that has the most players. I think there'll be multiple positions.
I
I
think
just don't
safe.
see that position.
I think safety's going to surprise people. I feel like it feels like Emin Warry's in there now, like semi-permanently, and stupidly high as well. Obviously, Jade Barron, but everyone says he's going to be a corner, but he's still, for all intents and purposes, a safety. Malachi Starks will be in there at safety. And there could be like 3 or 4 safeties in there as well. And then you got a couple of tight ends. How many quarterbacks?
Ward, Shador. For me, Jackson Dart is going in the first round.
He is.
I think he is.
Well,
Whether
you
or not
say
that's
that
right, I
then.
just think it's going to happen.
It might be, there's a good chance it could be an offensive draft. So you got three quarterbacks, 2 running backs,
3 receivers.
3 receivers, interior linemen,
Yeah,
Grayson
you got
Bell, Tyler Booker, which is 10. And this is not including your tackles yet. Kelvin Banks, Josh Connolly, Will
maybe yeah,
Campbell. I don't know. I'm counting 14 to 50. I'm counting potentially 16.
maybe Gray Zabel, maybe the kid from Minnesota.
Ursary.
Yeah,
It maybe not be. It could be an offensively heavy-minded first round. It's intriguing. I mean, obviously you need free agency to come along yet. Like free agency makes this stuff so much easier when teams' needs are diluted
but
down and
what's
you
going to
can.
happen? Let's say we'll know what the Titans are doing when we get to the draft, and like say Harold Landry's gone.
Oh, Brent DeWitt's giving us a $2 super chat. Appreciate that, Brent. There he goes. Go Army, beat Navy. Of course, they're going to.
Well, I've seen the Rams. The Rams are trading Jonah Jackson.
Oh, are they?
Yep,
Has that been done?
they're putting him up for trade.
Oh, he's not got a
But
destination yet,
they
but they're
said
putting
though,
him
like
up.
you say, yeah, it was an expensive mistake.
Jonah Jackson, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford.
I
Somebody
have
say
no idea
rebuild?
what the Rams will draft.
No. No, I don't. Do they have their first pick this year, don't they?
Yes.
Did they have one last
Do they
year?
take a tackle? Do they take Jackson Dart? If to sit behind Stafford for a year,
I'd give
I kind of think it would work.
I'd give
Another gunslinger.
I'd give what's his face a go. That he uh the old George quarterback, Stetson Bennett, give him a go for a year. ESPN have him going for a tackle. They have him for Josh Connolly, which makes sense because he's the Oregon
Your
guy. He's the
line's
West
struggling.
Coast. He's the West Coast guy. Yeah, it feels like they've got to protect the quarterback better. It's an old line, and it needs a guard.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Grey Isabella go there. Am I just saying that they fixed their well, I say they fixed the interior. They spent a lot. They've got the old TCU Avila at centre, and they've got
Really.
the right guard. They paid a lot of money to as well. It does feel like it's a tackle situation for them. You've got to protect whoever's coming in next. But that would be funny if they went quarterback. I'm not gonna lie. Right, Matt is in there with us now, so I'm just gonna go through the wine now. Thanks to everyone who's joined us this evening, Brent, Mile, all of you. Appreciate you all as always. So our next show is Monday coming. Um, we're doing combine. We're doing some work on the combine and the combine wind down and that because everything will have happened by then. And then myself and Ryan will be back in a week. Obviously, we'll be going through combine bits as well, and then we'll start taking a look ahead at the pro day circuit and doing some more draft rankings and bits like that. So we got a lot of good stuff to come there. And as I say, our draft prospect review tapes are coming out now. So if you want access to them, just get in touch with us and we'll fire you across the links and you can watch some tape with us. It is good fun. It's great stuff. Appreciate you as well, Carlton. Thanks ever so much. Don't forget you can find us Roar of the Lions UK anywhere, all over the internet. Just type us in, you'll find us. And yeah, we appreciate all of you for supporting us. It's great. Well, yeah, we'll see you again on Monday potentially. Enjoy the combine. Enjoy watching the pajama games. Enjoy all the overreactions, the underreactions, and remember not to get drawn in by the hysteria. What you see on tape, that's king, and don't let it sway your opinion either way. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you, and we'll see you again soon. One Pride.
Recording stopped.